Minute, let folks roll in. We'll get started in about 30 seconds. So again, just go ahead and change your Zoom name to your first name and your pronouns and introduce yourself in the chat. If you want to go ahead and post your favorite spot to be outside in Monterey County or otherwise, you can throw that in there as well. And then we'll get started. Alrighty. Looks like we're slowing down in terms of folks coming in. If anyone comes in late, we'll just kind of let them in sneakily. Before we get started, I'm going to actually pass it off to Ben to do a little bit of a welcome for us. So I'll stop sharing my screen and take it away, Ben.
Thank you, Rachel, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual component of Learning Through Nature. We're so grateful that you've joined us, especially considering that most of you are probably still on your summer vacation. So thank you guys for making the time to join us and meet some of your colleagues from throughout Monterey County. This is a really exciting thing for us because it's the first time MEarth has ever hosted a teacher professional development session. And so we're really excited, and really, like, you're kind of our guinea pigs, and we need as much constructive feedback as possible. So you'll see we'll be polling, we'll be doing some surveys and stuff. That's all so that we can continue to add greater value to K through 12 environmental education throughout the county. So thank you for your patience as we're really excited for what we've got in store. We also appreciate you just being flexible with us as we're we've been doing virtual learning, as you guys have, I'm sure, for the last year and a half plus. But we're still learning, and so we very much appreciate any and all feedback that you all have for us. I'm tasked with the component of just basically setting the tone, and so we have, like I said, a really exciting agenda for this morning, and then also for tomorrow. We're really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, those of you who are able to attend in person. And we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves as a whole team in just a moment, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit about MEarth. I know some of you are more familiar with our work than others, but we are a 501c3 nonprofit here located behind Carmel Middle School. So we have a facility use agreement with the district to operate here, and we run programs for K through 12 youth from throughout Monterey County. So we do serve Carmel Unified. We also serve students from throughout the county. Our mission is to educate and inspire through environmental stewardship. And we like to think of stewardship as care of ourselves, of our own bodies and our own minds and our own selves, care of our human community around us, and care of the natural world. So the question we ask is, how can we be good stewards of the environment if we haven't taken good care of ourselves and the humans around us as well? So that's our mission. And we're also in the process of learning a lot more about the native history of this place. So I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the indigenous people of this area. And I'm going to jump to a different screen so that I can read some pre-written remarks. But as many of you may know, this land, Carmel Valley, was originally the home of the Rumsen Ohlone people. The Esselen tribe lived farther up in Carmel Valley. And while this restored habitat is a demonstrated commitment to modeling human existence in balance with the local ecosystem, we also want to acknowledge the complex and painful history that has affected Native people of this place. We have much to learn from the ancient human history and present example of the Rumsen Ohlone and Esselen people. And today, as we work together, and tomorrow, we want to take what we've learned back to our homes, classrooms, and communities. And in so doing, let's remember to respect the land, plants, and animals, and honor the human history of each of the places that we inhabit on a daily basis. So we'd love to invite you to take a moment to visit a link that will be shared in the chat momentarily to see a map of indigenous tribes of actually globally, but it's much more developed in North America. And again, this is in progress, as you may have seen this map before, native-land.ca. But please take a moment to visit that link and Identify a place where either where you live, where you were born, or another place that you visit frequently, and take a moment to just in your own mind, in your own heart, acknowledge the indigenous people of that land. Is everybody able to access that link? Great, thank you. So we're really looking forward to increasing our indigenous literacy, I would say, at MEarth, and we're making some good contact with local tribal leaders and looking forward to learning much from them, and hopefully welcoming some indigenous youth to our property soon. So that's also an exciting frontier of our work. I think that's what I had in store for welcoming you all. But again, I just really am thankful that you all joined us in the summertime. And I should say briefly that this project is possible by through a grant from the Community Foundation for Monterey County and the donor advised fund of Gene P. Fitton, the Gene P. Fitton Fund, which is specifically geared toward K through 12 teacher professional development in Monterey County. So we are incredibly grateful to Gene P. Fitton and her family and their fund, as well as the Community Foundation for making this possible for everybody free of charge. And with that, I will hand it back over to Rachel Buserith, our program director.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. And yeah, thank you all for being here with us. So before we get started, I want to just go through a quick agenda or some quick Zoom and community norms, just so that we're all here on the same page. So you all are, Zoom experts already, but we just ask that everyone keep their microphone on mute to reduce background noise. Obviously, there'll be plenty of times when you'll be in breakout rooms when your microphones will be on, and we love to hear those reactions and shout outs and things like that. If you are comfortable, please turn your camera on. Lots of you already have your camera on, so thank you so much. Of course, feel free to turn your camera off at any point in time to maintain to reduce any kind of Zoom fatigue, and also kind of just to give yourself a little break from the camera sometimes. And then the last one is use the chat. So ask questions, post comments, share reactions. We love an active chat. So if there's something that makes you think of something or something that excites you, go ahead and post that in the chat. I also wanted to take a second to review some of our community norms, just so that we're all here together on the same page. So the first one is just leading and engaging with enthusiasm and kindness, making sure that we're all excited to be here. I know that it's kind of morning, it's summer, but kind of coming in with that positive intent. And then encouraging growth and curiosity at all levels. You all will see later on that we have a really diverse group of people here with us today. So just ensuring that we are being supportive to all of our team members in all of their different levels. And then lastly, offering compassion and respect to other cohort members when we're in groups, when we're working in pairs, and also when we're here on site tomorrow. So next up, we have our little agenda. Thank you, Ben, so much for doing our introduction to MEarth and a little bit of this project as well. I'm going to take a second just to go over the program overview and objectives, and also give you all a chance to set some goals for the program. We're going to connect outdoor learning with NGSS today, and then we'll have a little break, and then we'll do a participatory activity and discussion, and then we'll talk about some logistics for tomorrow right at the end. All right, so the first thing is our Learning Through Nature objective. So when we wrote this grant and when we were thinking about what we wanted to do for a teacher training, these were kind of the 4 things that we focused on. We wanted the teachers to experience NGSS aligned learning from the student's perspective. So you'll get a lot of opportunities to be a K through 5-year-old, kind of revert to that mindset, whatever that may mean for you. We're also going to be exploring some curriculum integration. So thinking about about how other subjects, not just science, can kind of be roped into outdoor learning. Hopefully you all will take away ideas for engaging NGSS aligned learning activities that you can use in your classrooms, in your organizations, at home, wherever you want to use them. And then the last one is develop lasting collaborative support with fellow cohort members. So a lot of the workshop today and tomorrow is going to be interactive. We're going to ask you all to talk to each other. We're going to ask you all to work with each other, and hopefully you all will kind of become friends and become a cohort as you go through these exercises. So talking about our cohort, time to meet you all a little bit. So again, I said our group is really diverse. So we are from a lot of different places in Monterey County, from Watsonville, Salinas, Carmel, Big Sur, lots of different educational roles and also different levels of teaching experience. So someone in this group has been teaching for 23 years, maybe someone has been teaching for more than 23 years. And then we have folks who are also just starting off their educational career. So lots of different people and lots of different areas. But I want to give you all a chance to also meet each other through a poll and also in person. So we're going to run just 3 poll questions very quickly. And you should see the first one popping up in just a second. Or you see all 3 of them. There you go. So you can just go ahead and very quickly just answer on those 3 polls, and we'll be able to see the answers in a second. And I'll give you all about a minute to do that. Are you all seeing that poll pop up? Yeah, okay, awesome, cool. Thank you for the head nods. Go ahead and end the poll in about 5 seconds. All right, there we go. It's perfect. All right, so I believe you all should be able to see the results now. So it looks like you all are here for a wide variety of reasons. So exploring to connect traditional class curriculum outdoors, engaging students outside, learning about MEarth, lots of different reasons. So most of you selected all of the above. And then we asked you to rate your agreement with the following statement. So I have a good idea how to connect NGSS concepts to outdoor lessons. A lot of mostly agrees, some neither agree or mostly disagree or strongly disagree. So hopefully by the end of this workshop, you all will be all in the strongly agree category, if not all in the mostly agree. And then lastly, how often do you teach outdoor lessons now? More than once a week. Lots of folks said just once a week. And then we have folks that are teaching a little bit less often, 2 to 3 times a month, once a month, or 3 to 4 times a year. So hopefully, again, through this workshop, you might see different ways to be able to teach outdoor lessons as often as you can, or as often as you're able to. Awesome. So now I'm going to give you all a chance to meet each other in breakout rooms in person. This is where you have to talk to each other. So we're going to put you in groups of about 2 to 3 people in each group. And I'd love for you to briefly introduce yourself and find 3 things that the group has in common. And the rules here are that you can't do anything about your profession. You can't do anything geographically located or anything about geography. And then you can't do anything about animals. So your 3 things can't be, I'm a teacher in Monterey County with a dog, because that would be way too easy. So you all have to dig a little bit deeper and find some things that you all have in common. And you'll have about 5 minutes to do that. We might bring you back a little bit early, but we'll put you in groups of between 2 and 3. And you should be getting those invites in just a second. One second. Get started. I know that was really fast. So I hope that you all very quickly found some things in common. If anyone wants to hop off of mute, let's just take a minute to share some of the things we have in common. If you don't want to hop off mute, you can just post it in the chat. But maybe let's hear from 2 or 3 people out loud and maybe some more in the chat.
Group 2 had 3 things in common: hiking, liking hiking, sushi, oh my goodness, and gardening. I almost forgot the third.
That's a good one. I love the sushi too. Anybody else want to share?
Group one's connections were that we all enjoy biking. We're all reading some good books or are in a virtual book club of some sort. And gardening. I had the same that Miss Robin had, but obviously we chose to be here. So something about gardening is enticing.
Yay. It's great to hear that lots of folks in the group love gardening. That's awesome. And also sushi and hiking, being outside. You all have some good time to be outside tomorrow for sure. Thank you all for sharing. The next thing I want us to do is to take a second to set some goals and objectives. We've heard from some of you in the pre-survey about what your goals are, but we'd love to just hear from you all right now. So what I'm going to do, I originally had planned to use a Jamboard, but I think just for time's sake, we're just going to have folks post it in the chat. So maybe let's just take the next 60 seconds to just think on your own about something that you might want to get out of the workshop over the next day and a half, and just go ahead and just post that in the chat if you feel comfortable. That way we can all kind of see where our heads are at and what we're looking forward to most. Awesome. Learning about the MEarth facility, developing lessons in math. There's 2 folks who specifically mentioned math. That's awesome. Learning about plants and gardening for sure. Hitting on environmental issues. Making connections with others that are doing the work, absolutely. Oh, focus on English language learners. That's awesome. I love the letting go of technology. It's a balance, right? It's like we're on Zoom, but how do we not do the Zoom? How do we do a little bit of both? Hopefully we can think about some tips and tricks for that. Thank you everyone for sharing. These are really awesome and really helpful for us as we continue to kind of shape and morph our teacher training and also just the next day or so. So I appreciate everyone sharing that. Awesome. So we're going to move on a little bit and talk about next generation science standards. And I just want to take a little kind of temperature check with the group. Are you all like totally next generation science standards out? Like you've been talking about this forever and you know way too much about it? Just give me a thumbs up if you're like, I'm super solid on this, or like a middle, or maybe a down if you'd like deeper. And then that way I can kind of gauge if we should go super in or super deep. We got some middle thumbs, we got some downs, middles. Okay, lots of middles. Okay, that's great. So I'll kind of just go with the flow and maybe just engage with head nods or like keep going. And then I can kind of adjust as necessary. So next generation science standards, yes, NGSS, all right. So previous California science standards kind of focused on students learning facts about science, and there was this very small portion of time that was dedicated to doing science. So the next generation science standards were created to kind of balance those scales. It has these kind of 3 different pillars, which are the core ideas, the practices, and also the cross-cutting concepts. So the standards encourage not only learning those core ideas, so not only learning the facts, but also practicing scientific and engineering skills, and also connecting science using cross-cutting concepts and doing that in equal weight. So each of those things is 1/3. So it's a shift from kind of all learning and a little bit of doing to doing, learning, and also having those cross-cutting concepts. Oops. Here we go. So outdoor learning specifically is all about focusing on those practices and also those cross-cutting concepts. When students learn outside, they have the opportunity not only to learn about science and experience science as it happens in the ecosystem, but also those cross-cutting concepts, things like cause and effect, patterns, system and models, flow of energy, structure and function. All of those things can be integrated really easily when it comes to outdoor learning. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. When we think about NGSS, there were 7 kind of key conceptual shifts when they were creating the when they were creating those standards. So they helped to guide teachers to separate what used to happen to what the standards are encouraging. And I'm going to run through each of one of these kind of quickly. Some of them are pretty self-explanatory, but I want to make sure that you all kind of have an understanding of it, because we're going to ask you to do a quick kind of thinking exercise about it afterwards. So the first one is that science is interconnected. So K through 12 science education should reflect the interconnected nature of science as it's practiced and experienced in the real world. Instead of science being this thing that happens in a vacuum on its own, it connects to math, it connects to language, it connects to art, and also it connects to itself. All of the different activities and things that you learn connect to each other. The next one is that NGSS is a performance expectation, not a curriculum. So performance expectations and other standards kind of give teachers what they should do, how long they should spend, how the semester should go along. NGSS actually doesn't do that. So instead, it tells teachers what the students should know and what they should be able to do at the end of the grade or at the end of the grade band. It doesn't tell the teacher when they should teach something, how long they should teach it, like what exact information should be in there, or how they might integrate it into the classroom. So you all have the freedom to do that in the way that makes the most sense for you, and using outdoor lessons is one of them. The next one is about concepts. So these are these cross-cutting concepts that build coherently from K through 12. When you look at the NGS standards, they repeat over and over and over. So you'll see things like patterns and structure and function in grade 2, but you'll also see it in grade 5 or grade 8. Because as you go along K through 12, they just get more involved and they get a little bit deeper. And that kind of brings us to this focus on deep understanding and application of content. So this is depth over breadth. NGSS has a smaller amount of things that students are expected to come away knowing. They kind of contracted all of the science knowledge into just concepts and also techniques. And there's not facts, there's less learning. And then we have integration of science and engineering. And this also kind of wraps in with the next one, but it's thinking about what students need to know in the 21st century. Instead of keeping science and engineering and technology as separate buckets, the NGSS kind of puts all of those things in the same realm. It puts engineering design at the same level of scientific inquiry. So making sure that students have the opportunity to rope in things like technology and engineering in with their science as well. The standards have a specific focus on college, career, and citizenship. So its goal is to prepare students for the future, and it reflects a growing and changing world. So someone in the chat put something about including environmental impacts, environmental concepts, climate change. All those things are actually written into the standards. How do humans affect the environment? And that, again, is a preparation for the future, preparation for college, career, citizenship, and also stewardship. And then our last one is that these standards were kind of released as states were implementing Common Core standards, English language arts, and also mathematics. So the NGSS standards are built in tandem with those standards. They're built so that teachers can integrate NGSS into other parts of the student's education, into math and also into English language arts. They're created as kind of a set. So there's a lot of interlapping concepts and interlapping activities or I guess core ideas that teachers can use in all 3 sets of those standards. So that's kind of a very, very brief, quick overview of NGSS and kind of those conceptual shifts. And we're going to continue talking about some of these cross-cutting concepts and core ideas. But I wanted to focus on these conceptual shifts because it'll give us an opportunity to kind of use it as a base of how teaching maybe other standards used to be and how the NGSS approaches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everyone just to take, it says 2 minutes here, but maybe we'll just do 1 minute, 30 seconds, or maybe you all can give me a thumbs up when you're done. And pick one NGSS conceptual shift and think of 3 ways, or maybe 1 or 2, being very ambitious in how many ideas you might have. But think of as many ways as you can to apply that shift in an outdoor learning environment. So I kind of explained all of them. So just pick one of them and think, okay, how can I connect this shift with outdoor learning? And I'll give everyone just kind of a minute and a half to do that. Feel free to take yourself off camera if you have like an intense thinking face. That I definitely do have an intense thinking face. We are going to pair you up with someone in the group. I think maybe there's an even number of participants, so you all should be paired up in pairs. Maybe there's one group of 3, and you're just going to discuss with your partner which conceptual shift you focused on, and how it can be applied to an outdoor learning environment. So just have a quick discussion. We might do probably like 3 or 4 minutes just about what you thought about, and maybe share some ideas there, and then be ready to share out with the group when we come back. All right, you should be getting your invitations to your breakout rooms pretty soon. There you go.
They always fly into the green building and I snatch them.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. So Catherine is actually
beginning to touch on many things that we're clearly passionate about, and how to bring MEarth to the schools I work at, and it's relevant to everyone here. And it's exciting. It's so exciting, and the availability of MEarth to everyone is here. But there's also there are MEarth-led programs, which I'd like to learn more about, and those can be established, I guess, with the different school districts or organizations. So that's exciting. I'm hoping to explore that more, and to encourage that to happen for the different schools I work at.
awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. I see Oscar put careers in agriculture in the chat, integrating science and math using nature. Oh, searching for angles and shapes in nature. That's an awesome one. Conducive to hand-on concrete learning, math and early education, finding and counting sticks, bundling them in groups of 10. That's awesome. Decolonizing diets and roots. Absolutely. Science is interconnected. Learning about, oh, this is Ben. Learning about how plants grow and weave together. Biology, chemistry, physics, geology, weather, climate. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I guess I'll just say thank you all for sharing, and I'll kind of leave you all with some last thoughts on NGSS Outside before we take our break. Can you all see my screen again? Yes, awesome. So when we're thinking about NGSS Outside, you all have totally hit on some of those points. We can also kind of use these tips and skills to guide us. So the first one is just leading with observable phenomenon. So can you show the students something through a video or through observation? Can you integrate that phenomena into students' learning? And then kind of having that shift from learning about something to figuring out why something happens. So leading with that observable kind of mystery to kind of engage students' learning. The next one is explore before explain. So this one kind of goes hand in hand with the previous one, but offering students the opportunity to use their senses to see, smell, hear, taste, and feel before explaining exactly what something is, and giving students the opportunity to come to their own conclusions before you kind of come in with the facts. And then another good tool is kind of what the structure that we just used, which was a think, pair, share. So students take an opportunity to think on their own. And then after they think on their own, they can discuss it with a classmate and then share with the whole group before the teacher kind of comes in and again, comes in with those facts, the learning with the, I guess those would be core ideas. And then finally, or not core ideas, but with the concepts, there it is. And then finally focuses on interdisciplinary core ideas and cross-cutting concepts. So cause and effect, patterns, system models, anything that you can use kind of as an overarching idea to connect between science and math, or science and English, or language as you are working outside. So all of these things are kind of tools that we use for outdoor learning. And the last thing I'll kind of say is the last thought is, outdoor learning is a good opportunity to reach kids with alternative learning styles and also strengthen whatever your current curriculum is through engaging activities. So it can be supplementary to what's already happening, and also it can just kind of increase that engagement for students who are a little bit different, who don't work well in that traditional classroom environment. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we do have our two different activities today. We have our seed starting activity, which would be if you were able to pick up those material kits. And then we have another activity that's called ecosystems through a window. I believe most of you all have picked up your seed starting kits. I know, Michelle, that you weren't able to do it, that they said that they weren't there. I apologize for that. But what we'll do is we'll open up the breakout rooms, and you all have been placed on based on who we think has picked up a kit and who hasn't. For those of you who haven't been able to pick up a kit, if you have a preference on doing the separate activity or kind of watching the seed starting demo, you can go ahead and do that. Just to give you a little preview of it, you all can see this. I think, let's try it, spotlight for everyone. You can see this screen right here. We'll have Ben, who will be kind of narrating and running through the exercise, and then you'll be able to see kind of some practice hands over here while you all follow along. So that's what it'll look like. Thank you, Catherine, for being our beautiful model hands. And then for the ecosystems through the window, we'll kind of lead through an activity that only requires a paper and a pen. So with that, I'll go ahead and Laura, you can go ahead and open up the breakout rooms there. And if anyone just wants to kind of let me know, like, hi folks, welcome back. I hope you all have some very beautiful seeds that are going to be maybe some food later, maybe something beautiful in your home. I don't know. Ben, did you release the secret? Do they know what it is? No. Okay, well, you will all have to do some observing and exploring once it pops out of the ground to see what it might be. We'll keep it a secret. Thank you, Ben, for leading that activity, and thank you all for participating in that as well. We're going to do a quick kind of recap. We've got about 10 minutes left in the session. So I want to give you all an opportunity to, it says think, pair, share, but I'm not sure we have quite enough time to do that. But maybe we'll just do some aloud sharing, maybe not the thinking and the pairing, well, hopefully the thinking, just about what that activity was and kind of relating it to the NGSS conceptual shifts. If you feel super comfortable, maybe you can just answer one or all of those questions in the chat, or if you have a comment, feel free to take yourself off of mute and share something.
I would just say, I think it's really hard as an educator to not explain.
I think this would be a really great seesaw activity where I could of how to sow a plant or seed, we were using seesaw a lot and during our distance learning, and I think this would be a really great activity for them to do on seesaw. Yeah.
I'll pop in and be transparent about one of the big challenges of this is obviously you all had to come pick up these packets, you had to pick up these kits. And that can be a challenge for teachers to gather materials and put those materials together and get them out to families and students. And then what if they don't pick it up? Does that mean that student doesn't get to participate? So I think that is definitely a big challenge. And one of the things that we'll kind of offer you all tomorrow and through the end of the workshop is some resources of activities that can be done at home with things that are already at home. So thinking about, what is already in the house that can be used when you're in a virtual environment.
And the question about the soil, this is just a soil mix that we made up because we buy bulk soil mixes, but to make it more doable for a classroom setting, you could most certainly purchase, a potting soil from the store, from a nursery, because it's still going to have, and it will even say, it'll have an ingredients list. It might not be identical, but it will be similar. And you could certainly the kids would be able to make observations about what they see in there. And one of the things we didn't talk about in our segment was what are the biotic or abiotic factors, or the living or non-living things, or what components of that soil were once living and which things were never living and never will be living.
One of the conceptual shifts is focusing on depth versus breadth, and talking about healthy soil versus not healthy soil. Obviously, this is very healthy. And then you started talking about, I think one of the components in the soil was charred. What was it called? Charred something. I can't remember. But from fires, and we're in fire season, and how this relates to fires. And we talk about the negatives of fires, but maybe some of the pros about fires, because fire can be a good thing as well. So I don't know.
I also just want to point out something Michelle wrote in the chat. Adding math to the activity, a fraction component, 1 out of 5 seeds sprouted. Or I heard Ben talking about kind of using equidistant when you're planting those seeds, or depth in terms of twice as the depth of the seed. So adding math in that way.
I see this lesson and phenomena as a big jumping off point for many investigations, and it could spark interest for students of all ages, and it removes some of the language barriers that some of our students encounter, and is a big opportunity for some equitable access to learning in a really meaningful inquiry-based way. So I put some biochar in my Amazon cart just now because 5th grade will be all about that. So thanks for taking what could be a seemingly simplistic activity and enhancing it.
As you were speaking, Rochelle, I was just thinking about, what about where the students end up placing their plants, and in terms of light and shadow and indoor and outdoor, and putting a plastic bag over it to make like a greenhouse environment versus there's so many variables that we could control for. I mean, it is a jumping off point, right? And then ideally at the end, maybe it's a few months from now, we actually get to eat the thing that we grew too, which is just a total bonus.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to mention, is that in one of my biology labs in college, which it could be, simplified down to a younger age level, we grew radish plants. And then at the end, we measured the biomass. So you could weigh biomass, or you could calculate germination rate. A lot of stuff that could be a longer lesson, months out, if they wanted to grow their plants for a month or two. So it doesn't have to just be a day that they take home. It could be spread out longer if that's what you wanted to do.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing and adding in and kind of contributing to that discussion. I think there are a lot of ways that this activity could grow. So we just got about a couple more minutes left in kind of this virtual session. So I just want to take a second to talk a little bit about what's happening tomorrow, and also open it up to any last questions that you might have about the workshop tomorrow. I just want to say thank you all for joining us today and being an active participant in our workshop. And we hope to see you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. See you tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Day, not evening, sorry.
Thank you.